Okay, so this is Vernon and I'm back, and I want to talk to you about the Davenport tablets. This is part of my whole chasing time traveler deal. So I will talk to you about Barry Fell and the Davenport tablets. So let's see. Back in 1877, some tablets were found in Davenport, Iowa, and the local people, local archaeologists said, hey, this is America's Rosetta Stone, because if you look at that stone, that's the second one from the left, it's got it's got a message in 3 languages at the top. Then they sent these to the Smithsonian Institution in DC, and the Smithsonian said, no, these tablets are not authentic. These are fakes. And he explained why. And his name was Cyrus something. And so then for the next 100 years, everyone said the Davenport tablets are fake. And basically, they all still say they're fake. There are a few people who think they mean something. So in the 1970s, Dr. Barry Fell up at Harvard University looked at the tablets, and he concluded that they were not fake. He said when these tablets were found in 1877, no one on earth knew how to translate all 3 of those languages that you see on that tablet I just mentioned. He said we knew how to translate 2, but not 3 of them. So it's like 2 types of ancient Egyptian and 1 type of ancient Punic, like around Spain, I think it was. I forget. And but still, if you ask an archaeologist about these tablets, they'll say they're fake. Um, if you look at the tablets, I'll try to make this quick because this is not the main thing I want to talk to you about. Basically, what these tablets show are the following, going from left to right. This one shows twin towers laying on the ground in the context of a big tree that seems to be in the context of people praying or something on the bottom right. So archaeologists say that this is from the hunting scene on the fall equinox. The fall equinox, of course, is around September 22nd or 21st. And, like Earth, Wind, and Fire saying, right? Do you remember the 21st night of September, right? That's what they're singing about, was the fall equinox. But I digress. If you look at this image carefully, you'll notice that a lot of things are just scattered around, including fish on dry land. You can see at least 2 fish on dry land here. So, using my imagination, how about this? That those towers fell for a reason. When ancient Egyptians showed obelisks, they showed them standing up. And if maybe they showed them laying on the ground, it was because they showed people about to raise the obelisks. I spent a few days in Cairo and hung out at the museum a bit and talked to a guy who looked like he was smart, and he said he'd never saw anything like this before. The guy was, apparently a local. He worked in some office, and so the reason I asked him that question was because Barry Fell had this theory that these Davenport tablets were copies from some other tablet still in Egypt, and that guy, in any case, of course this is anecdotal evidence, right? But he never saw anything like that before. So let's see. Here's my point. If this image is showing towers that fell, one question is, what made them fall? Could have been an earthquake, who knows? But they're showing fish on dry land, which implies the possibility of a flood. If we're talking about ancient Egyptian symbolism, then presumably we're talking about the flooding of the Nile. The flooding of the Nile, the celebration of the flooding of the Nile begins on the first day of the month of the season of Akhet, right? The celebration of the flooding of the Nile begins on the first day of the season of Akhet. This first day of the season of Akhet is on September 11th, So twin towers laying on the ground, well, we'll say that fell on September 11th. If you look at that, if you look at the left obelisk, and looks like a guy with a hat on there, a wide brim hat. Think about the firemen who were killed on that day. Lots of firemen. Now look at that tree. What does a tree have to do with 9/11? Well, that's roughly the size and shape of a sycamore tree. And there was this story about a miracle of the sycamore tree on 9/11. A steel girder went flying toward St. Paul's Chapel, and the thing that stopped it was an old sycamore tree. It was a few hundred years old, and so they say it was a miracle. And that's not my point, whether it's a miracle or not. My point is everything in this image is consistent with everything, if not, most things are consistent with 9/11. You got the date, you got the twin towers falling, and let's look at the back of this tablet. So here's the back of that tablet. It used to be, one tablet, but it's split, and now it's two. And this one, Barry Feld translated as, "To a pillar attach a mirror, so that when the sun rises on the first day of the spring equinox, it will illuminate a stone called the Watcher, and all that. On that day, you should hold your New Year's celebration." Well, okay, great. But now look at the bottom of that one. You see what appeared to be mourners holding hands around a cremation site. The name of this side of the tablet is called, by archaeologists, the cremation scene, right? So think about what we've got. On the front of this tablet, we've got twin towers falling on the ground on September 11th. On the back of this tablet, we've got a mass cremation scene, which is exactly what happened on 9/11. I guess we could argue that those languages form a mound, right? Even though I just now noticed that after 20 years of looking at this thing. But in any case, those are consistent with the story, and those, of course, could be coincidentally consistent with the 9/11 story. Let's go to the next tablet. This tablet is called the Zodiac Stone, or the Calendar Stone, or something like that. And archaeologists say it's a zodiac. So presumably there's a date that's important, right? Because look, the tablet before this, he said, "Let me tell you how to make a calendar using the sun," right? That's what it said at the cremation scene. "Let me tell you how to make a calendar by using the sun." And on this one, they're showing a zodiac. So arguably, a date is an important thing for whoever created these tablets. Let's go to the next tablet. This guy looks pretty harmless, but if you stare at him a bit, you realize he's riding the sun across the sky. And if you're riding the sun across the sky, then you're traveling in the sky. He's got a shield up, which arguably means he's attacking. So here's a guy attacking by air. He's got an axe over his head, at least that's what archaeologists say it is. It looks like a fez, but it's got a little handle there. So presumably if he's got an axe over his head, he's about to die. So here's a guy traveling across the sky, attacking by air, and he's about to die. Over his head, he's got what looks like a bird and a fish. So presumably those are air and water symbols. And if you think about Egyptian mythology, when you're about to die, the goddess Nut, the sky goddess Nut, stands in a sycamore tree and hands out air and water to people who are venturing into the afterlife, which is, in theory, what this guy was about to do, was journey into the afterlife, if he's a 9/11 guy. Well, if he's anybody, right, he's got an axe over his head. And there are 4 arrows on the top right around those little dots, according to archaeologists, and they say those are arrows. So we've got a lot of symbolism consistent with 9/11. Okay, that's it for part 2.